we'd like to welcome Janina Neumann. So Janina is a designer, really. She works in branding, she works in design, and helps companies make sure that their branding is good, helps them understand how to be perceived from the outside world. So, and Janina has actually helped us in the previous live Next Generation Innovators sessions and workshops that we normally run at the three counties. So Janina, thank you ever so much for joining us today virtually, and looking forward to hearing some of the things you want to say.
Okay, yeah, good morning, everyone. As I go through, please do put your questions in the chat or ask them. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I'm about to share with you. So today I'll be sharing my experience and insights into my journey as a creative and business owner. I'll also share some of my key learning and skills that I've developed along the way. Okay, so I'm Janina Neumann. I'm a bilingual, so German-English, graphic designer, intercultural management trainer, which means that I help businesses put different practices across cultures, and also make sure that they're communicating their brand message across different cultures and languages. And I set up my company in 2016. After I left university, and J&D is a bilingual design company helping clients create a social impact in the UK and abroad. And I'd like to share my journey with you because I find that when I was younger, I really found it useful to understand how people got to where they are now. So I started off going to Neumann Community School, and after achieving my GCSEs, I decided to continue on to A-level. I took physics, maths, psychology, French and German. And, you know, people say that, you know, school life isn't as stressful as real life. And I think that school life, especially sixth form, was really stressful because you're continuously trying to figure out what you want to do with your career, but also you want to achieve the best grades. So I found it really helpful to have a support network at that time. And towards the end of year 13, I started to question where I'd like to go in my career. And after numerous impromptu meetings with a careers advisor, discussing my career options, I decided to go against people's expectations of me going to university straight away. And I went on to do an art and design foundation course at Hereford College of Arts. Now, I decided to go to college because I wanted to have time to explore different creative mediums that you might not come across at school. On an academic, but also on a practical level, and to really understand what I could do with my creativity. And I'm really glad I did this because it helped me become interested in graphic design specifically, because beforehand, I hadn't actually studied graphic design. I studied fine art for my GCSEs. And then I decided that university would be the best place for me to progress onto. I went to the University of Gloucestershire to study graphic design, and I thought that university was a great choice because it really helped me develop my key skills, but also to do lots of research on different topics and really develop that critical thinking skills, but also have that expertise from trained industry graphic designers who were my tutors. And to give you an insight into my course a little bit, my time at university helped me gain an insight into different design areas, for example, typography, animation, literature design, packaging design, and interface design. So my course was quite broad, but that isn't true for all university courses. I like to understand a range of topics and then specialize, which I have done now. After I finished university, I became an independent business owner, working with clients such as life science startups, social enterprises, councils, and think tanks. And that's really how it developed over the years. And First of all, I started freelancing for agencies, but I felt that I wanted my own clients. So in the design industry, it's mainly consists of design agencies, freelancers, and independent business owners. So an agency will consist of one or more person, and they will either have people working in-house, so they're employed by the business, or they will subcontract to freelancers. So they have people working on a sometimes part-time basis, and usually on a project basis, and they're called freelancers. So they're also self-employed. So the freelancers are self-employed, but they work on projects given by the design agency, and they produce work under the agency's name. So they don't really have a clear branding as such, because they're trying to fit into the brand of the agency who gives them the work. And then an independent business owner like myself works directly with the end client, who will be using the design to promote themselves. So graphic design is anything to do with type and imagery, and you're communicating a message in the best way possible visually. So some of my key learning and skills, and just for you to bear in mind that, anything's possible. You just need to have a clear goal. And sometimes it's really hard to define that goal. And I certainly struggled with that over the years, but always knew whether something felt right or not. So it gives some insight into career direction, which I'm sure you'll be thinking a lot about as well. So this picture was actually taken just towards the end of my university degree, and it was taken after I attended a design event in London. Because I was quite unsure at that time what I wanted to do, I started to visit different design agencies. I used to research them quite a lot, but then I also found that I had quite a good idea about what I wanted to do. I was quite independent. And what I would say for anyone thinking about setting up their own business is, do believe in that, but it is a full-time commitment. When you go to become like a business owner, to make it really successful, it does take years, and there'll be all sorts of challenges along the way. But then there's also a huge reward. That's one of the things that I wish someone told me when I was younger, just about the sheer commitment that it takes. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It just to be aware that that's part of your kind of life plan. And then after completing my university degree, like I said, I started to freelance under my business name, Janina Neumann Design. But then after about 4 months, I realized that I wanted to have my own clients, and rather than design for someone else's clients. So that's when I really started working on my brand. So it's really important to have a personal brand. So that's you, what you stand for, what you're recognized for, your skills. But then also, if you're setting up a business, it's about the company's brand. So why would people want to work with you? What are you known for? What kind of results do you deliver? And they really work hand in hand. But it's important to realize that you have such a power as well to spread your message as an individual. So even now, when you feel that you're not going to be employed this year or anytime soon, it's important that you recognize and build on your own self-confidence, which I'll move on to now. So this picture was actually taken at my first presentation event at a networking group. So just to give you an insight, when I first went out networking, they have something called a 60-second or 30-second elevator pitch. We have to pitch your company. And I just remember I didn't have a clue about how to do that. I stuttered, and that went on for quite a while. And I'm just trying to explain to you that you can build all the skills. So even the things that you think about that you might not be very good at, or you have a perception that you're not very good at, you can always work on things. And self-confidence is really a key aspect in all areas of life. And with public speaking, for example, it really helped build my confidence. What I would suggest, if you're feeling like your self-confidence is quite low at the moment, I would sometimes suggest to think about who you're surrounding yourself with. It is said that you become a reflection of 5 people that you surround yourself with. And you can meet a new set of people at any time by volunteering, taking up a new sport, or doing some extracurricular activities. I always found that these extra activities in school were always a stepping stone to the next thing. So that really helped me build a variety of experiences that I could put on my CV, because people will ask, what have you done in the past, your experiences that will then help you back up your skills when you're writing up your CV. And the best person to speak to about your CV is obviously your careers advisor. So I really encourage you to go and see them as well. But yes, I also think it's important to have different types of goals in your life. So career goals, personal life goals, and hobbies. Because if you aren't going to achieve one of your goals, then at least you have another goal to focus on that doesn't influence the other goal. And I'd say that's one of the main things that helped me build my business and helped me build my career, is that I always had a goal to motivate me and to build resilience. Everyone talks about resilience. I think it is key. And that's one of the ways I built resilience, because I first started out my business just after university. I was surrounded by everyone a lot older than me, and had people that had a career path and had lots of expertise and skills. And I had to basically build my vision and demonstrate that I could do the work that I said I could. And lastly, your support network. So this photo was taken year 2 into my business. I decided to rent my first physical office space at Tewkesbury Growth Hub. And what I would say about a support network is the story about having a posse. So in the Wild West, a posse was a group of people who basically had your back, were on your side, would laugh with you. And I think it's really important to build that support network around you now, but also later. People that share the same values, understand what you stand for, and also will help you when things aren't as great. But also, of course, when things are fantastic, that you have people that you can celebrate with. And these are some of the tips I would say, things that you could start on now. So when you're old enough, create your career social media account. For example, LinkedIn, but also, for example, Twitter. Just as I was going through creating this presentation today, looking at my Twitter feed, I had lots of photos, and also people later on do check your social media account just to see what kind of person you are. So make sure that you are showing people what you do, but also it gives real social proof, which is really important if you're trying to build your personal brand. And then secondly, to create an online portfolio. So for creatives, there are sites such as Behance or Creative Pool, or you can create your own website later. That's really important, because when people ask you what kind of things do you do, as a graphic designer, it's all about being visual. Thirdly, start growing your personal brand. Think about the values that you stand for, people that you want to be associated with, skills that you have, experiences that you have. And fourthly, start building your support network. Start thinking about who really makes you feel good, who makes you feel like you're growing, and turn the volume up on what they say and turn the volume down on people that go against you in the way that they're not being supportive and that you don't really trust them. And fifthly, create a storyboard about your career and life goals. So these storyboards could be pictures next to your bed or your table, and their goals for the next 6 months, perhaps 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. So you know that every day you take actions that help you fulfill those goals. And yes, I'd like to invite any questions now as well.
Thank you very much, Janina. That's fantastic. So indeed, anybody have any questions? I'm just looking down in the chat just to double check we haven't missed any. I have a quick question, Janina. I mean, it's so difficult, I think, as you pointed out, running your own business, as well as obviously starting out in your career when you first decided that's something you wanted to do as well. So lots of balls to juggle. And you mentioned obviously having your support network and your friends and so on. I mean, any sort of major tips on the actual process of starting a business? What sort of help did you get?
Yes, there's lots of help available. For example, each county, there's usually a growth hub, but also to go onto the council's websites. They're really supportive of startup businesses. What I would mainly say is to have the confidence in your self to go and start up that business. And also to think about, you could have like a trial business and then register it after 6 months and see whether your idea takes off. But also business success isn't just about how much cash is coming through the business. It's also about kind of the impact that you're making through your business, because there's a great book as well called The Slight Edge, and it talks about your normal and your normal activities, and then it goes exponentially up, which is all the things that you do that help you build your business. And then you also have a reflection of that, so the exponential curve going down. And it just talks about really that sometimes you feel like you're not getting anywhere. You feel like you're constantly putting all your activities together and you're working really hard and it's not going anywhere. And then suddenly, like in one day, and I've had this recently, everything comes together, what you've worked for, and you just don't understand that. But it's because of the exponential curve, it just goes up from that point. And it's about believing in what you want to do. And of course, you can change, direction if you need to. That's absolutely fine. But also it's about when you start up your own business, it's about obviously also being able to pay the bills. So also finding other ways of perhaps financing your work just whilst you're getting started. And there's absolutely no shame in that, even when people don't really openly talk about that. That's also important, because when I speak to my startup clients, I sometimes have to remind them, that's absolutely fine to do that as well. Yeah, no, I agree. Yes, well, it's that difficulty of having the self-confidence to keep going and knowing when to stop or to stop certain activities, and having a mentor, somebody you can talk to, really helps, I think, as well. So we've had a question from Sam Collett, who's at the University of Worcester as a graphics lecturer, I believe. So he's asked about your first portfolio after university, what it was like, and whether you've got any tips for university students that are coming out. Yes, so just reflecting on my own personal portfolio, and when I finished university, I remember I had it all printed out, and I actually went to DNAD, which is a design festival, and my portfolio was critiqued by different agency owners, and I found that really useful, because you also get the idea of how important it is to display your work. So for example, mock up your idea in Photoshop was really important. And what I'd say is, from that perspective, is that skills such as using Photoshop and Illustrator can be taught and can be improved. I've spent many hours on those programs, And but the thing is also on that is that comes as a natural skill. What's really important is that you think creatively, and you have to demonstrate that you have a great idea, and also make sure that you are able to explain where that idea came from. So it's really important to show that you've researched it, that you haven't taken any things for granted, in creating an idea, and also kind of understood that how it's practically going to be put in place from your experience is really important. So it's great that if you have skills to mock things up, that's fantastic, but I would say the ideas is the best way to focus on things.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, thank you, Janina. It's really helpful. And I think, for people thinking about a career in graphic design, whether they do it as an entrepreneur or whether they do it, as you say, within an agency, that will be a really helpful segment. So thank you ever so much for joining us. Do hang on. There may well be more questions in the chat, so you'll be able to answer those by text as well, and we'll keep an eye on those. So thanks for joining us, and see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Festival of Innovation.